Doing a manual regen to see if it's gonna work and see if it clears out the codes. Because pretty much I was reading that if it has stored codes for the DPF, that they're never gonna come out unless it has a successful regen. So I'm making it do a regen with a full DEF tank, and see if the codes go away. If not, then it will be needing a DEF pump, but hopefully it goes away on this one, because it does seem to be working. Like I said, all the sensors in the lob data are working. It's just it ran out of DEF is my guess, because the tank was completely dry. Saw that or not, but it got really smoky, and that's because this thing hasn't done a regen in a long time. So it's going through it. The EGTs are like 1100 right now. It's in Celsius, but I'll show you. Conversion's roughly 1100. I think it is. So she's going on through it, whereas the van wouldn't even light. And that's because we had no fuel pressure to light. So she seems to be taking it. Can't even walk past the muffler right now because it's so hot. But 612 degrees Celsius is 1133 degrees Fahrenheit. And that just shows you how hot these things got to get to cook the DPF. They have no check engine light right now, so that's good. It means it's actually working. And two is, if you have a diesel truck and you're forcing it to do a regen, or it's doing one while it's sitting, if you turn the truck off mid-regen when it's that hot, it'll blow the DPF into smithereens and cost a lot of money. I've seen it happen on equipment, and it will happen on a vehicle as well. On equipment, they have a regen delay timer. So if it's in the middle of a regen and you try to turn the engine off, it'll keep it running, and that'll cool down the DPF. Whereas on a vehicle, you can just immediately shut it off, and it will disintegrate the DPF when you do that. So always remember that. Alright, so this F250 passed the regen test, but it did still have codes for the heater circuit and the level circuit. So I ordered a new heater / level sensor for the DEF tank, but we know that the DEF pump is good. So I think the parts are going to be here tomorrow, so we're going to go ahead and drop the tank tomorrow. Maybe if we have time tomorrow we'll put it in, I don't know, because the F150 I troubleshot a while ago, then we'll go ahead and start pulling the head off that truck just to get it to the machine shop. But this one shouldn't be that long to finish up. Alright guys, so this is the 250 yesterday we troubleshot. I got in the shop. It's a little sketchy on the lift. It's under 10,000 pounds, but it's like, 50 miles long. But anyways, so we were going after just the heater, which is already in the trash can. But if you look in here, that's metal in the DEF tank. So we're going to go ahead and do the DEF heater and the pump. Just because there's metal in there, we're already there. The pump's not expensive for this truck. But here's the so this is what goes bad on these things. So you have the heater right here, and I think this heater is also the float in this thing. And then down the bottom is your pickup for the DEF, and you can see the pickup is clogged. Then here's the pump here, and it sits right on top the heater. And this is a dormant kit. We got it for 170 bucks. It really comes with everything. New cap, new O-rings and clips and new bolts. So I'm just order this really quick. This is the original one. Still says Ford on it. You know, for a truck like this, where you know you're still running DEF on it, there's no point in buying Ford parts and spending all that money, because Ford still has an issue with these heaters and pumps. So if you want to save yourself some money, I would go aftermarket. You know, just make sure it's a good aftermarket, not some Chinese something. This is all dormant, and dormant's, you know, good stuff. And so half the price is Ford, and I think it still has warranty on it for the most part. I mean, you're not going to get like the year, 3 years, or whatever it is Ford offers for their parts, but it's better than paying them, you know, $1,500, $2,000. Whereas this literally takes you 30 minutes. You can do it in your driveway, and you could do it really for probably what, maybe $300, $400. Alright guys, so we just put this DEF pump in and the DEF heater in this F250. So now we got to reprogram it for the fill calibration. So you have to fill the DEF tank up completely full so it'll pass, and which I already did fill it up. This is the next day pretty much on this truck, which is this one right here. I didn't really videotape the repair. I showed you guys that we found metal in the DEF tank, and that's why we replaced the DEF pump. And the only thing that was technically bad with this one was the heater was bad. But when you find metal in the tank and there's no way for it to backfeed, it means the pump's going bad. So we went ahead and replaced the pump. So now we're going to reprogram it, which I got the scanner up right here, just waiting on it to connect to the truck. So pretty much I'm going to do a manual regen to pretty much make it relearn itself. The DEF tank's completely full, and it's still throwing a DPF fault even though there's no codes in it, and I think it's because we were driving it with the DEF tank completely out of the truck and disconnected. So it's definitely throwing for a loop. It passed the fill calibration and knows it has DEF in it, but we're just gonna have to do a manual regen to reset the life of it pretty much. So the truck's warming up now, and it should be about to start it here in just a second. And hopefully the codes go away, or it's not really a code, the message goes away on the dash. I'll show you what the message is. It's saying it's in limp mode right now. There it is. Which, it's not really, it should go away here in just a second. Once it realizes the, you know, it has DEF in it and it can do a regen now. So I literally just smoked the shop out. I don't know if you can see that or not. I did the manual regen, and it literally started just dumping out soot. So I canceled it and moved it outside, but I just needed it to act like it was doing one, so it would know that the pump's there, and now it's actually working. Now I'm resetting the fill level for the DEF tank right there. So now the code's gonna be gone. So they're gonna literally kill me because it smells like, you know, nasty ammonia smell in the shop now. But oh well, at least the job's done. So you guys saw me rebuild the not the F250, the 2500 Hemi engine, and now I've been tasked with the rebuilding transmission, and we're going to be doing it on this 1500. I showed you guys the fluid in it and showed you what we were doing to it, and you know, we rebuilt the front end, changed the filters and the transmission, and well, then I drove it home. I drove the car home, or the truck home, and it's just straight banging. Well, it's not really banging gears. It's slipping. It doesn't have third and fourth, and then sometimes it will go into third or fourth, but then you gotta like baby the throttle, and so it's completely shot. So we ordered a transmission rebuild kit and a new torque converter, and so I'll be rebuilding that one. It's really not that hard to rebuild. 4L60 transmission is just, it sucks because it's so small. Like, it really is a puny transmission, especially when you compare it to, you know, like an F250, where it's a lot easier to work in. You know, you got a lot of room to, you know, pull the snap rings out and everything like that, whereas the 4L60, it's literally a tiny transmission, and like the clutches are literally like that big. Like, they're absolutely tiny. So I'm trying to let the shop air out a little bit. It looks a little better in here. It still smells like crap, but oh well. And this thing should be good now, because you gotta let it sit for 3 minutes. Yeah, there we go, complete it. Okay, let's see, we got the code. Well, oh, there's the key. Oh, we got a check engine light now. That's interesting. See what we got. I know the foot pedal is bad because we robbed it out of this truck and put it in the big F250 we had. I don't know why it keeps throwing the DPF code. Like, it keeps throwing the 50 miles till you get in limp mode. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't think it really should be doing that right now, especially when the DEF tank's full. Alright, so I finally figured out the issue on this, the 250, why the DEF light's still on after replacing everything in the tank. And it's, so these are aftermarket mirrors, but this truck did come with power mirrors, and here are the temp sensor wires, and we had a code for the temp sensor, and since it's an aftermarket mirror, it doesn't have the temp sensor wires in it, and so the DEF tank can't read the temperature inside the tank because it goes between the ambient air temp sensor, which is supposed to be right here on an OEM powered mirror, and this one obviously is aftermarket. So we're going to cut these wires right here, and we got an adapter, harness adapter for the ambient air temp sensor. So we're going to cut it, and we're just going to probably route the wire in here and stick it in here up and away, so it still reads the temperature somewhat correctly, because right now the DEF tank's at 17 degrees Fahrenheit, and the truck ambient temp is actually at -40. So it's too big of a gap in between. Even the engine is reading wrong because of it. All these sensors have to work together, and if you don't have power mirrors factory, is not going to have this. It's going to have a smaller plug here, supposedly. I don't know that for sure, but supposedly this plug's smaller, and you know, because you don't have power mirrors. And I'm guessing it's talking about probably the heater in the mirrors, and then probably just the power motor in this, is my guess. I don't really know, because this one doesn't have this has like the manual slides. So I don't know if it's talking about the manual slides, the manual mirror, the stuff from Ford is very unclear. But I do know that this doesn't have a temp sensor in it, and this does have the wires for it. So therefore this truck is supposed to have a temp sensor in the mirror, and that is what's causing the def light to come on still, even though there is no codes. The truck's literally just not reading the def level. Even though it says it's full, it still thinks it's not full. Alright guys, so we finally got the temp sensor in, the ambient air temp sensor that's supposed to be inside of this mirror, but this is an aftermarket mirror. And here are the wires here for it. Also have the schematic pulled right here. So this truck did come with power mirrors at one time, or it came, you know, this moves, this upper piece moves, and it has a heater in it. So technically it has powered mirrors, from my understanding. And so that pretty much means that we have to wire this in order for the def level light to go off. And if you don't have power mirrors, it's going to read the engine sensors to measure the def tank, whereas this one, it takes the ambient air temp sensor and the def temp sensor and somehow makes a reading. I don't really know, but this is pretty much what I understand from reading and doing some research on this thing, because there's really no codes in this truck besides this temp sensor right here. It's the only code, and from what I read, this little thing right here will cause the def tank not to read the level, and for it to clear the code on the dash. And the truck has to be completely cold when you try to do the def level reading test. I don't know why, but it just has to be cold. So we're gonna hook all this up and wire it in, and hopefully it works. I'm gonna try to, so this thing goes right here. I'm gonna try to run the wire up and try to stick it in this cubby hole right here so it's out of the way. But I don't know how far that little pigtail will let me go. But I'm trying to get as close to the outside as possible. Alright, so we got this teed in right here. I ended up just cutting them in case somebody just, you know, decided to get a new mirror for this truck and wants all this to work right. They can just splice right back in here. They don't have to go fishing for pins or anything. And I'll probably just end up just zip tying this on the harness somewhere. Maybe. Or maybe, I don't know if it'll fit right here, but yeah, that's it. So now I got the scanner hooked up, and let's see if this sensor's gonna work. Alright, so this is your ambient air temperature. This was reading -40, and now it's reading 51.8. So it is working. So now we're gonna relearn the def tank level in this truck, and then we're gonna fire it up and then let it warm up with all the sensors working, and it should accept it, and reduce speed message should be gone, which is right there. Alright, so I just broke off a little tab on the back side of this thing. and stuck it right there. That should be tight enough so the door panel will still go on. And then I'm gonna zip tie all this down, and then I heated these up. These are special kind, so it's full of glue. And you heat it up, it fills up everything with glue, so there's no way these can come out. But I went ahead and reset the def level again, and it passed, and I still have the code. The code's still up over here, but there's no codes in the ECM for it. So I really don't know what's actually going on right now with this thing. I'm kind of at a loss like everybody else on the internet. The tank's completely full, no codes on this truck, no nothing, and it regens perfectly fine, but it still has the def fault on the screen. So I'm just let it sit here and run and see what happens. See if it just runs and maybe it'll recognize it. I don't know. Alright, here we are. We're doing the def fill again. I don't know why this thing hates focusing on that. There we go. Successful. Okay. And let's see if it's gonna pop up. And it still pops up. I don't know what the heck's going on with this thing. It really says the def system found a fault. But there is no fault in the def system. Literally a throttle. And that's it.